I came out for a walk with someone special, and I will tell you who that person is a little later. But let's talk about today's content. Today I decided to record this video on a feature in SQL Server called Optimize for Ad Hoc Workload. Now, this is a great feature, a great option in your SQL Server database engine for chatty workloads for OLTP environments. Let's first discuss a bit of background. When you send your query to SQL Server, the optimizer creates an execution plan. It is this execution plan based on which the execution engine executes your query. It talks about how the storage engine should fetch the data, how that data should be joined, how the aggregates should be performed. So basically the execution is done based on this plan. Now, SQL Server stores this execution plan in a plan cache. And why it does it? Because SQL Server believes that the same query, the same workload might come again. And preparing a plan is kind of an expensive operation. It requires a lot of CPU cycles for creating the plan, the optimization phase of the plan, the process of compilation of the plan. So SQL Server decides to store the plan in the plan cache for the purpose of reusability. So if the same query comes again, SQL Server will not go and create the plan again. It will just pull out this plan from the plan cache and just execute your query. So that's the basic concept behind SQL Server execution plans. Now, what might happen in OLTP environments and in environments where you have a lot of chatty workloads, there might be a lot of ad hoc queries that are only single use. What I mean by single use is these queries don't come to SQL Server more than once. So let's say you have a lot of workloads and queries that are being sent by the client application or by your reporting applications or by your reports, and they're parameterized. Let's say select star from this table where a particular column is equal to something. And then you have a lot of these variety of parameters that are coming in. What SQL Server will tend to do is, by default, create one plan for each version of the query, or let's say for each parameter of the query. And then, as I said, these are single-use queries. They are not going to come a second time. But then what happens, the default behavior of SQL Server is that it will create an execution plan for each of these queries, and your plan cache gets bloated. Bloating is a concept where the plan cache requires or utilizes a lot of memory, SQL Server memory, and this is something that you do not want, because these plans, execution plans in the plan cache are not being used again, and they are single-use plans just lying in the plan cache and utilizing memory, using and consuming memory, and are not going to be reused again. This is where this feature called Optimize for Ad Hoc Workload comes in, where if you turn this feature on, then SQL Server will not create the execution plan in the first execution of the query. So let's take an example. Now, you have turned this option on. So this is an instance level feature. If you turn it on, then it will apply to the entire instance, which means all the database in your on your server. So this is not a database feature. This is an instance level feature. So let's say you turn it on, and now the client is sending the query for the first time. For the first time when the query comes in, the default behavior would have been to create the execution plan. But now, because this feature is turned on, SQL Server Optimizer is not going to create the full execution plan. It is only going to create a stub. A stub is supposedly 300 bytes, and it just consumes very less memory, and of course the requirement is very less. So the stub is created, and the stub is like a signature. It's not a full execution plan. It is just a signature that gets created, and it gets stored in the plan cache. Now, by turning this feature on, you're actually telling SQL Server that there are a lot of these ad hoc queries that might not come a second time. So when this stub gets created, and of course it is not a full execution plan, it serves great purpose because your plan cache is now not bloated. And now if this query comes a second time, then SQL Server is going to create a full execution plan and is going to store in the plan cache. But let's say, as our understanding is that this query is not going to come a second time, then you're pretty safe. Plan cache is not bloated because you don't have the execution plan in the plan cache and you just have the stub in the plan cache. So this is a very simplified overview of what optimize for ad hoc workloads this option is. And just like any feature, I do not advise that you should just turn them on blindly. Yes, it is a good feature generally, and you could turn it on for heavy OLTP environments where there are a lot of ad hoc queries coming in, there are a lot of chatty workloads, but you can do a bit of sanity check before turning this option on. So what can you do? You can write queries and retrieve plans from the plan cache and check on their use count. If you see a lot of workloads, a lot of queries where the use count is 1, there might be a possibility that your server and your environment is one of them where there are a lot of single use queries. You can also check the size of the overall plan cache, and you can check the size, the amount of memory all these single use plans take. So let's say the overall size of the plan cache is X and the complete size of all the single use query is Y, and the difference is not very big between X and Y. Probably your environment is one of those environments where this feature can help. So that was a very quick overview of optimize for ad hoc workload. To summarize once again, turn this feature on so that a lot of your chatty and single use ad hoc workloads, SQL Server will not create a plan for them. Instead, it will just create a stub which will use very minimal memory in the plan cache, and it will avoid plan cache bloating. And it's a good feature that you could generally turn on in OLTP environments. And yes, I told you I was out for a walk with someone special, and here is my son Havish. Havish, say hi. Okay, so that was the video for today. See you soon in another video. If you like it, do subscribe and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.